8 billion people gather in one spot. Every single human stands shoulder to shoulder. A global countdown reaches 0. Everyone jumps. The goal is simple: push the Earth out of its current orbit. The plan is ambitious. The physics are simply not on your side. Organizing this event is a nightmare. Logistics fail immediately. The crowd takes up an area the size of Rhode Island. Air becomes a luxury. People in the center suffocate from lack of oxygen. Those on the edges are crushed by the collective weight of humanity. The jump happens anyway. A massive collective heave sends 8 billion bodies upward. The ground groans under the sudden shift in pressure. Gravity remains unimpressed. Newton's third law dictates the outcome. For every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. The Earth moves, but the movement is microscopic. The planet shifts by roughly 1/100th of the width of a single hydrogen atom. This distance is so small it is practically non-existent. Once the jump ends, gravity pulls everyone back down. The Earth returns to its original position. The net movement is 0. No orbital change occurs. Instead, the energy of the jump converts into something far more destructive. The sudden collective landing creates a localized seismic event. The crust ripples. The ground behaves like a liquid. This is where the real problems truly begin. The sound is the first warning. 8 billion people hitting the dirt creates a sonic boom. The pressure wave flattens every building within a 50-mile radius. Eardrums rupture instantly. The atmosphere shudders. It is a very loud way to achieve absolutely nothing. The impact acts like a giant hammer hitting a glass plate. The shock wave travels through the lithosphere. It triggers dormant faults. Earthquakes erupt across the globe. Magnitude 10 tremors shred the landscape. Cities collapse, mountains tremble. The energy doesn't just stop at the surface. It dives deep into the mantle. The sudden compression forces magma upward. Volcanic vents that have been silent for millennia scream back to life. Ash clouds blot out the sun. The temperature drops. Chaos becomes the new global standard. People attempt to flee, but the ground is now a rolling sea of concrete and soil. The very tectonic plates begin to grind and slide with violent intensity. What started as a harmless leap has become a planetary demolition derby. The crust is now a jigsaw puzzle being shaken violently by a very angry toddler. Kinetic energy cannot be destroyed. It only changes form. The energy of 8 billion falling bodies transforms into heat. The friction between the displaced Earth and the atmosphere generates immense thermal energy. The ground beneath the crowd begins to glow. Then it melts. The soil turns to incandescent slag. This localized heat spike creates a massive atmospheric pressure differential. A superstorm forms instantly. Winds reach supersonic speeds. The air becomes a centrifuge of debris and fire. Oxygen is consumed by the heat. The atmosphere begins to thin as gas is blasted into space by the sheer force of the impact. The planet is no longer a home. It is a combustion engine with no off switch. The remaining survivors are not worried about the orbit anymore. They are worried about the fact that the air is now plasma. The ground is lava. The sky is a void of gray ash and static. This is a catastrophic failure. The instability reaches a breaking point. The Earth's rotation wobbles. The sudden shift in mass distribution causes the axis to tilt. The poles swap places. The magnetic field flickers and dies. Solar radiation pours through the weakened atmosphere. The oceans begin to boil. Massive tsunamis of superheated water sweep across the continents. Everything remaining is vaporized. The planet doesn't move its orbit, but it does change its appearance. It looks less like a blue marble and more like a charcoal briquette. The debris from the crust is flung into orbit, creating a ring of human-made rubble. The moon watches in silence. The gravitational interaction between the Earth and the moon becomes erratic. The tidal forces tear at the remaining core. The planet begins to fragment. Pieces of the mantle are ejected into the void. The dream of moving the orbit is finally realized, but only because the planet is now a cloud of expanding gas and molten rock. The universe does not care about the effort. The physics are indifferent to the goal. The result is a silent, glowing graveyard floating in the cold vacuum of space. In the end, the Earth did move. The center of mass shifted by a fraction of a millimeter. The orbital trajectory changed by an amount that is mathematically insignificant. However, the legal implications are severe. Because the event was coordinated globally, it qualifies as an unauthorized planetary modification. The Galactic Zoning Board finds the human race in breach of the Interstellar Space Act. The fine for this violation is 4 trillion credits. Unfortunately, there is now absolutely no one left to pay the bill. Space is once again quiet. The rubble continues to orbit the sun. The experiment proved that humans can indeed collaborate on a global scale. It also proved that jumping in unison is a terrible way to travel. The cold void is now very peaceful. Next time we will see what happens if you eat a black hole. Subscribe to the What If Club. Don't jump. It is generally a very bad idea.